Good afternoon, this is Jeff with Sewer Tech Northwest. We are at property address 1221 Northeast 27th Street here at McMinnville. Located up on the rooftop, going down through a 4-inch cast iron vent. Check the overall condition, serviceability of the sanitary sewer line. We do have some water running here. We're going to just clean the camera lens up, get some cobwebs off of it really quick. Off we will go. From the sounds of it, it sounds like we've got a relatively lengthy sewer line here that goes out through the backyard. So the initial run out here, I'm going to be pushing the camera pretty quickly just to keep momentum up. I'll try to bring it back in a little bit slower. Alright, it doesn't have a clean out. We're swapping over to concrete pipe immediately outside the foundation wall. Almost looks like, I think we're going into 6-inch concrete there. A little bit surprised. Usually this part of town you get 4-inch, but it looks like, it appears anyway, we're getting a diameter change there. Alright, so this very first joint we come to here, you got roots right there immediately out of the gate. That's right up against the house. Those are roots coming through there. And dirt. Oh, nowhere near as long as I thought it was. Very short. There we are, 31 feet. So when we're dealing with a line of this shallowness, here's my 2 cents on it. If you're going to start messing around with this line, in my opinion, you're better off just doing it at one time. We've got a root intrusion in the line. We'll see how the pipe joints are looking throughout the rest of the line as we pull back in here. Nowadays, you have the beautiful advantage of doing trenchless repairs, trenchless epoxy liners, things like that. As far as flow goes right now, the line is conveying sewage quite nicely from end to end. You still have good slope and grade, but we do have the condition of the line to be, to consider, and a root intrusion. And roots are kind of unpredictable. The hard part with them is I never know if they're being treated, if they're being cut back from time to time to keep them at bay, and what their natural state typically is. We don't have any trees immediately in the vicinity. I know there was some confusion originally on why they would be there. What you often get is, probably a long time ago. Those roots have likely been there for decades. Someone who owned the home before these current sellers owned it likely are aware of the roots. They probably had a blockage and a backup, and they took the tree down closest to them, or trees, to eliminate them. The problem is once roots have intruded a line, even if you cut the tree down, the roots remain alive. They're being fed hydroponically by sewage at this point. They certainly grow slower than if you have a tree above ground gathering sunlight, but they will remain alive. As Jeff Goldblum poetically put in Jurassic Park, nature finds a way. Roots hang on to dear life better than anything on this planet. It's quite amazing. So anyway, we're going to go locate really quick here. I'm going to put a couple paint markings down just so you know where the line is at, but this thing just does a dead straight shot, it looks like. It's a nice short sewer pipe. And my assumption here is because we are T connecting onto a line, not Y connecting onto it, it would appear you have a main lateral running across the backyard. Or in some orientation. I'll figure that out here in a second. Alrighty. Easy peasy. Line does a dead straight shot straight out the back. If you look at the crawl space hatch, you can see the sewer pipe daylights there. Anyway, if you follow that same trajectory, it just runs dead straight. I put a pink T marking down in the backyard. My assumption, or should anyway, have an easement. There's probably an easement for the main lateral to roll through there. And so, one of the concerns you have here when you have roots intruding a line, especially an older line, older pipe materials, when you go and cut roots out of a line, you run the risk. Those roots are often clogging up the pipe joint. Like these joints here, they're just starting to fail. You can see the moisture there that's around that pipe joint. That's an indicator that moisture is seeping through. As it sits right now, that's not doing a whole lot. We don't even have a full ring around the entire joint there. Similar things taking place at that one. just starting to happen. And that stuff starts to accelerate as time goes on, as the grout that seals the joint up wears out. But one of the things that can happen when you cut roots out, those roots are often clogging the joint up. And if you beat them up too much, it can unclog the pipe joint and allow dirt to start flowing through the sewer pipe, and which can lead to hydro erosion and the lines settling. So you've actually got root penetration on both sides there. It's hard to see the spot on the left side, but there it is coming through both ends. As it sits right now, this is doing nothing to affect functionality. The line has good flow to it, and from a flow standpoint, purely flow standpoint, the line is functioning properly in that regard. As for being a watertight sewer pipe at this point, I can't say that. You've got a few different joints throughout the line there that I can see moisture is coming through. And you can see a similar moisture stain on this one. If you look just above the roots, you can see how you have some dark staining on the pipe there. That's from groundwater seeping through the joint. So you get a similar effect here. I just wanted to point that out more than anything. So anyway, I'm going to mark this out here. Like I was saying before, everything like this that is, it looks like it is 100% under just grass and dirt. My 2 cents on it, if you're going to start opening the ground up, you might as well just do the whole thing. This is an incredibly small sewer line. Relative to most homes, you have a line here that's about half to a third the length of the average line. And you're even luckier, the line doesn't go out the front under a road or a driveway. It's all under dirt. That's a miracle setup for sewer line repairs that very, very few houses can say. So anyway, that's what I recommend. Obviously, at the very least, I would recommend a spot repair to fix the roots. As the roots sit right now, they're not doing a whole lot to affect functionality. They're sitting way up out of the flow line. But again, I don't know if they're being treated, if they're being cut from time to time to keep them at bay. That's the one thing I don't know, is if we're getting a natural look at their natural state. Some roots grow in, that's all they ever amount to, and some just turn into gigantic root balls. Not seeing this thing over and over throughout the years, I just don't know. So if repairs are not done, I would certainly keep an eye on the line, and I would plan to update this thing probably within the next 3 to 5 years, especially if you want to take advantage of an epoxy liner. You don't want to run the risk of letting the line wear out to the point where the joints really start to suck dirt and water through them and cause hydro erosion in the line to settle. As this thing sits right now, it has beautiful slope and grade. If you were to do a liner on it, for instance, you'd have a great result out of it. And being that it is all under grass and dirt, it's worth checking on both different repair options to see which shakes out the better. Either way, whether it's dug up or done with a liner, I would like to see it updated. You may not get the same cost savings the average house does out of lining, or where your line goes under a driveway in a street. That's where those liners save big money. But you are at 5 feet deep there at the main lateral connection, so it's not an ultra shallow sewer line. I thought it was going to be a little bit shallower than that. It's down there to a reasonable depth. They're only at 11 inches deep there, which is more the depth I figured we'd have. Bear with me a moment here. I didn't catch anywhere in here where it just obviously tanks off like crazy. Oh, I apologize. There's the dive right there. Anyway, that's where the depth is picking up. I was like, how is this thing getting 5 feet deep and 30 feet of run? Anyway, I apologize. You're 11 inches deep at the start. Where the root intrusion is right now, you've got a little playhouse sitting over the top of it, or just, yeah, it's right about where I put that marking down. Now, if you do a repair, spot repair wise, you don't want to mess around with a liner. You just dig it up and fix it that way. Doesn't make sense. Not at those depths. It would be silly to go to that effort. But when you start getting to the 5 foot deep realm, at that point, it's worth looking at. You're starting to open up a decent sized hole at that point. Anyway, because of the age and the condition of the line, again, the joints beyond that one, I can see there's moisture coming through them. They're not ultra advanced as it sits right now, but it's an older line, and you end up with a much better result when you do these things all at once. So about 10 feet, you probably can't see my paint marking, but about 10, 15 feet beyond that little playhouse thingy, I don't know what that is there, but that's where you'll see the pink T marking. And then you'll see another T marking at the beginning of the line. I didn't put markings in between just because the line runs dead straight. It's very easy to eyeball it. After any repairs are done, I recommend re-scoping to check the work. And if you do a traditional repair, you want to do that after the line is buried, not beforehand, or you're not going to catch any settling problems that may occur. And if you do a liner, you want to rescope the line either way, whether it's if you do a liner onto a traditional repair. And again, if no repairs are done, you know, right now, being that the roots aren't affecting functionality, I'm almost tempted not to even recommend cleaning, because you do run the risk of unclogging things, opening the pipe up to the ground and allowing dirt to come through where that root might be clogging things up right now. There's not hardly a scrap of debris anywhere in and around it that shows me it's caused any flow problems, and I really wouldn't expect that. It sits high enough up the flow line that anything that would come into contact with it would have to be a rather large item, something that's kind of getting close to just causing a blockage on its own anyway. So just so you don't ruin any potential to do a liner on it, right now I don't even recommend cleaning on it. I would either just repair it or leave it and rescope it and cut roots as needed. It's possible those are how the roots have looked for a very long time. I'd have to see videos from years past to see if we're seeing much change there. If not, I would just try and pick and choose an ideal time, sometime in the next 3 to 5 years, to update it. Just so, one, you're not running the risk of just the line wearing out in general, you know, heavy aggregate rock leading to blockage issues, you know, things of that nature, and the pipe joints wearing out. If you want to do a trenchless repair, you want to get on that sooner rather than later so you don't start losing slope and grade on this thing. Once again, as I iterated already once before, flow is good through here. It's a clean line, it has good flow, which is what makes it a great candidate for a liner. Not a watertight sewer line any longer, but it's doing its job as it relates to flow.